The waves crashed against the jagged rocks below the cliffside estate like accusations she could no longer outrun, each one dragging fragments of her carefully constructed life back into the froth. Esme Sinclair stood at the edge, her bare feet gripping the dew-slick grass, wondering if a single leap could erase the ink still drying on her late husband's will. But it was not the fortune that pinned her in place. It was the woman emerging from the mansion's shadowed French doors, her silhouette a ghost from a summer Esme had buried deeper than the Atlantic itself, Clara Voss. The first wife. The one who had always known too much. Esme's heart slammed against her ribs as Clara approached, the silk of her robe whispering against the morning air like a secret finally breaking free. The Hamptons sprawled behind them in deceptive serenity, Montauk's windswept dunes giving way to Southampton's manicured hedges, where old money whispered through cocktail parties and new scandals brewed in the salt-kissed shadows. This was their world. Or had been Richard's, their shared husband's, the man whose death 3 weeks ago had unraveled everything like a poorly tied nautical knot. Richard Voss Sinclair, the shipping magnate who had built an empire on transatlantic trade, leaving behind not just billions but a tangled web of loyalties that now threatened to drown them both. Esme, Clara said, her voice low and laced with something sharper than grief, betrayal, perhaps, or the raw edge of recognition. She stopped a few feet away, her blonde hair pulled into a loose chignon that did little to tame the wild curls framing her face. 42. Clara carried the poise of someone born to these shores, her blue eyes steady as the lighthouse beacons that dotted the coastline. But today, they flickered with the storm Esme had seen brewing that summer 5 years ago, when Richard had first brought Esme into their fold as his indispensable consultant, a euphemism for the second wife he kept hidden in plain sight. Esme swallowed, tasting salt on her lips, tears or sea spray. She couldn't tell. Clara. I didn't think you'd come alone. The estate, Greyhaven, loomed like a Gothic sentinel, its gray stone facade etched with ivy that clung as desperately as the rumors now circling their names. The lawyers had summoned them here for the reading, but Esme had arrived early, hoping to steal a moment of solitude before the vultures descended. Richard's estranged son from his first marriage, the board of directors salivating over stock options, and the tabloid photographers who had already caught wind of the 2 wives, claws buried in the will. Clara's laugh was brittle, a sound that cut through the wind. Alone? In this circus? Hardly. But I sent the staff away. We need to talk before they arrive. She stepped closer, her bare feet mirroring Esme's on the grass, and for a heartbeat, the space between them hummed with the echo of stolen nights, whispers in the boathouse, fingers tracing collarbones under starlit skies. It had started innocently enough, or so Esme told herself. Late-night glasses of Sancerre after Richard's interminable business dinners, conversations that veered from shipping routes to the quiet ache of loving a man who loved his legacy more than flesh and blood. Now, with Richard gone, heart attack in his sleep, the coroner had said. Though Esme suspected the stress of his double life had finally claimed him, their indiscretion loomed like a tidal wave. The will named them co-heirs. Greyhaven, the fleet of yachts, the Manhattan penthouse, all split between my beloved Clara and my devoted Esme, but there was a codicil, whispered about by the attorneys, a truth that could end it all. One Richard had penned in his final lucid hours. Esme turned to face her fully, the wind tugging at her blouse. What do you want from me? Clara. Absolution, the deed to this monstrosity. Greyhaven had been Richard's pride. A sprawling 1920s mansion with wings added haphazardly over decades, ballroom for galas, library for his rare first editions, and the East Tower where Esme had hidden her own small rebellions, dog-eared novels by Virginia Woolf, a hidden vial of estrogen patches from her pre-transition days that she hadn't touched in years. Clara's eyes softened. Just a fraction. Enough to crack Esme's armor. I want the truth. The one you promised me that night on the beach. When you said this, us wasn't a mistake. Her hand reached out, hesitating before brushing Esme's arm. The touch electric. Forbidden even now. Esme flinched. Not from revulsion but from the flood it unleashed. Memories of sand between their toes. The taste of salt and Sauvignon on Clara's lips. The way her body had arched under Esme's like a wave cresting at last. But the lawyers' cars were already crunching up the gravel drive. Black sedans gleaming under the rising sun. Esme pulled away. Her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. Later. After they leave with their pieces of paper. She didn't wait for Clara's nod. Instead, she strode back toward the house. Her bare feet leaving faint imprints in the grass that the tide would soon erase. Inside. The grand hall smelled of beeswax polish and faded roses. The air thick with the ghosts of summers past. Richard's portrait hung above the mantel. His stern jaw and salt and pepper hair captured in oils that made him seem eternal. Esme paused, staring into those painted eyes, wondering how much he had known. Had he sensed the shift in their marriage beds? The way Clara's touches lingered on Esme during family charades. Or how Esme's dreams had begun to feature only the curve of Clara's neck. The door swung open, admitting Harold Kensington, Richard's silver-haired attorney, flanked by two associates clutching leather folios. "Ladies," Harold intoned, his Boston accent clipping the words like hedge trimmers. "Shall we proceed to the solarium, Mr. Voss?" Sinclair was most particular about the light for such matters. Clara appeared at Esme's side. Her robe exchanged for a crisp navy sheath that hugged her figure like armor. They followed in silence, the solarium's glass walls framing the restless Atlantic beyond. Sunlight poured in, gilding the wicker furniture and potted ferns, but it did nothing to warm the chill settling between Esme's shoulder blades. Harold cleared his throat, unfolding the will with ritualistic care. "To my son, Theodore Voss, I bequeath the New York properties and 20% of Voss shipping stock, in trust until he demonstrates the stewardship his mother always believed him capable of. Theo, absent as always, would no doubt contest it later from his rehab in Malibu." Then, the heart of it, to Clara Voss, "My first and steadfast wife, I leave the family trust, the Hamptons estate known as Grey Haven, and 50% control of the company, with the provision that she nurture the gardens as she once nurtured our home." Clara's breath hitched, her fingers tightening on the armrest. Esme watched her, the way her throat worked against unshed tears, remembering how Clara had coaxed life from Grey Haven's barren soil, roses that bloomed blood-red against the stone, hydrangeas that turned the lawns to blue seas. "And to Esme Sinclair," Harold continued, his eyes flicking to her with a neutrality that bordered on pity, "I leave the Mediterranean villa in Capri, the art collection, and the remaining 50% of Voss shipping, on the condition that she honors the bond we all shared in this house." The room spun. Esme's mind reeled, not at the bequest, but at the implication. Bond we all shared. Richard had known. The attorneys murmured pleasantries, excusing themselves to finalize documents, leaving the two women in a silence that roared louder than the waves outside. Clara rose first, her movements fluid despite the pallor creeping up her neck. "He knew," she whispered. echoing Esme's thoughts. About us. That's the truth he meant, the codicil. Esme stood, her legs unsteady as she crossed to the glass wall, pressing her palm against the cool pane. Below, the ocean churned, indifferent to the dramas of the privileged. What does it say? She asked, though she dreaded the answer. Clara retrieved a sealed envelope from Harold's folio, her hands trembling as she broke the wax seal. Richard's script filled the page, elegant and unyielding. She read aloud, her voice fracturing on the words. If my wives find themselves adrift without me, let this be their anchor. The fortune is theirs only if they choose truth over legacy. Esme, reveal your past to Clara, as I revealed mine to you. Clara, forgive as the sea forgives its storms. Together, or not at all. Esme's world tilted. Her past, the transition she had undergone in her 20s, the name she had shed like snakeskin, the family she had left in Chicago's South Side. Richard had promised to bury it forever. But now, it surfaced like driftwood, demanding she dredge it up for Clara's sake. I can't, Esme breathed, turning to face her. Clara's eyes searched hers, not with judgment, but with the same hunger that had drawn them together, a need to be seen, wholly and without apology. You must, Clara said softly, stepping into her space. Or we lose everything. Including this. Her fingers grazed Esme's jaw, a touch that promised salvation and ruin in equal measure. Outside, thunder rumbled over the horizon, the first drops pattering against the glass like hesitant applause. Esme closed her eyes, the weight of secrets pressing down, and wondered if love could weather a storm this fierce. As the rain intensified, drumming a relentless rhythm on the solarium roof, Esme felt the first crack in her resolve. Clara's hand lingered, warm and insistent, pulling her toward the East Tower stairs. Come, Clara murmured. Let me show you something Richard left for both of us. They climbed in silence, the house creaking under the downpour, each step echoing the pulse in Esme's veins. The tower room was Richard's private sanctum, walls lined with nautical charts, a massive desk cluttered with model ships, and a hidden safe now yawning open. Inside lay not ledgers, but letters, dozens of them, bound in ribbon, addressed to my dearest Esme and Clara. Clara selected one, her fingers reverent as she unfolded it. He wrote these over the years, she said, voice thick. Confessions. About how he saw us long before we saw ourselves. Esme took the letter, the paper soft from handling. Richard's words leaping out. I married you both for different reasons, Clara for the stability of shared sunrises, Esme for the fire that lit my later years. But I stayed because of the light you cast on each other, a flame I could never provide. Forgive me for hoarding it. Tears blurred the ink. Esme had always viewed their marriage as a transaction, Richard's wealth for her discretion, her youth for his status. But this painted a man who had orchestrated their union not out of possession, but a quiet benevolence, stepping aside to let something truer bloom. Clara watched her read, her own eyes glistening. He wanted us to be free, even if it meant losing him in life, not just death. The rain lashed the windows, turning the world beyond to a watercolor blur. Esme set the letter down, her hand finding Clara's in the dim light. My truth, she began, the words sticking like barnacles. Before Esme, I was Elias, born in a walk-up in Bronzeville, raised by a mother who prayed away my confusion. I fought for this body, this name, every hormone a battle won. Richard found me consulting on his acquisitions, saw the fractures I hid. He helped me heal. But he never owned me. Claire's breath caught, her thumb tracing Esme's knuckles. I knew parts, she admitted. The scars on your chest from surgery, the way you flinch at old photos. But not the weight of it. Not until now. They sank onto the worn leather chaise by the window, bodies aligning as naturally as tides. Esme spoke for hours, the storm raging outside mirroring the torrent within, tales of Chicago winters scraping by on Grants, the elation of her first mirror glance post-op, the terror of loving Richard while yearning for the softness only Clara's gaze provided. Clara listened, interjecting with her own confessions, nights doubting her straight-laced facade, the thrill of their first kiss when Richard was away in Singapore. As dusk fell, the rain easing to a drizzle, Esme felt the burden lift, replaced by a fragile hope. The codicil, she said finally. We honor it together. No more hiding. Claire nodded, her head resting on Esme's shoulder. Together. But even as the word hung between them, a shadow stirred in the doorway. Theo Voss, soaked from the drive, his face a mask of fury. What the hell is this? He snarled, clutching a tablet streaming the first headlines. Voss empire in turmoil. Billionaire's secret bigamy rocks Hamptons elite. The scandal had broken, and with it, the fragile peace they had forged. Theo's arrival shattered the tower's intimacy like a rogue wave against the hull. He stormed in, water pooling at his Italian loafers, the tablet thrust forward as if it were a weapon. The screen glowed with grainy photos. Richard arm in arm with Clara at a Met Gala. Esme on his yacht in Capri. And worse, a blurred shot of Esme and Clara on the beach 2 summers ago. Heads bent close, oblivious to the paparazzo's lens. Bigamy? And now this, some kind of twisted love triangle. Theo's voice cracked. His boyish features, Richard's nose, his mother's sharp chin, twisted in disbelief. Claire rose, shielding Esme instinctively. Theo, this isn't the time. The will hasn't even been probated. He laughed, a harsh bark that echoed off the rafters. Probated? Father was a fraud. Mother. 2 wives, and you, both of you, parading around like it's the jazz age. I called my lawyer on the way from the airport. We're contesting everything. Esme stood, her pulse steadying into resolve. Theo had always been the wild card, shuttling between Hamptons summers and LA benders, resenting Richard's absences as much as his indulgences. 30. He was adrift, a trust fund surfer chasing waves to outrun his father's shadow. Contest what? Exactly? She asked coolly. The truth? Or the fact that Richard chose us over your chaos? Theo's eyes narrowed, flicking between them. Us? Don't play coy. Esme. I saw the way you looked at her. At the Labor Day barbecue last year. Father noticed too. Asked me to keep an eye on things. He spat the words, hurt masquerading as venom. The rain had stopped, but the air hung heavy, charged with the scent of wet earth and unspoken accusations. Clara stepped forward, her voice a blade wrapped in velvet. Your father loved you, Theo. Enough to protect you from this mess. Go back to California. Let us handle it. But Theo didn't budge, his gaze lingering on the open safe, the letters spilling like confetti from a ruptured dream. Handle it? Like you handled him into an early grave. The barb landed. Drawing blood. Richard's death certificate cited natural causes, but whispers of overwork, of endless boardroom battles exacerbated by family strife, had already fueled the gossip mills. Esme's temper flared, hot and unbidden. "Get out," she said, low and lethal. "Before you say something that can't be unsaid." Theo hesitated, the fight draining from him as quickly as it had surged. He pocketed the tablet, shoulders slumping. "This isn't over. Not for any of us." He turned on his heel, descending the stairs with the heavy tread of defeat, leaving the door ajar to the cooling night. Clara exhaled, sinking back onto the chaise. "He'll come around. Or he won't. But we can't let him or the press dictate our story." Esme paced to the window, the horizon now a bruised purple. Fireflies winked in the gardens below, fragile lights against the encroaching dark. "Our story," she echoed, tasting the phrase. Felt foreign, yet right, like slipping into a dress tailored for someone braver. "What do we do now?" "The reading's public knowledge. By morning, every outlet from page 6 to the Times will be here." Clara joined her, their reflections overlapping in the glass. Two women marked by the same man, yet bound by something deeper. "We face it. Together. Like Richard wanted." Her hand slipped into Esme's, fingers interlacing with the certainty that steadied the spin in Esme's chest. They descended to the kitchen, a vast space of marble islands and copper pots that Clara had redesigned after Richard's first heart scare. Esme busied herself with the espresso machine, the hiss of steam a small anchor. As cups steamed on the counter, Clara poured wine, a '98 Bordeaux from Richard's cellar, its label peeling like old skin. "To truths," Clara toasted, clinking glasses. The wine was velvet on Esme's tongue, loosening the knots in her throat. They talked then, not of scandals, but of beginnings. Clara's girlhood in Greenwich, summers at the club where Richard first courted her with tennis whites and promises of forever, Esme's Chicago grit, hustling through DePaul's econ program on scholarships, interning at a firm that funneled her to Richard's boardroom. "You were his secret weapon," Clara said, smiling faintly. "The one who saw the numbers no one else did. He told me that, you know. Said you made him feel alive again." Esme sipped, warmth spreading. "And you were his harbor. The one who kept the home fires burning while he chased horizons." But beneath the nostalgia lay the undercurrent of their own current. That first summer at Grey Haven, when Richard had insisted Esme stay as family consultant. Late nights turned to dawn confessions. Clara's hand on Esme's knee during movie marathons, the electric brush of thighs under the dining table. One evening, after a gala where Richard had drunk too much scotch and railed against competitors, he had retired early. Esme found Clara on the widow's walk, staring at the stars. "He's impossible," Clara had whispered, tears streaking her mascara. Esme had wiped them away, her thumb lingering on Clara's cheekbone. The kiss that followed was inevitable, a spark to dry tinder, soft at first, then desperate, hands fumbling with zippers in the dark. They had justified it as comfort, a balm for the loneliness Richard's absences bred. But it deepened. Stolen weekends when he traveled, bodies mapping each other like uncharted seas. Guilt gnawed. Yet so did the joy. The way Clara's laugh filled rooms Richard's silence emptied. How Esme's touch coaxed Clara from her shell. Now, in the kitchen's glow, Esme voiced the fear that had haunted her since the will's reading. What if Theo's right? What if we killed him with our lies? Clara set her glass down, cupping Esme's face. Richard lived large, loved larger. Our truth didn't break him, his secrets did. The bigamy, the boardroom wars, he carried them alone to protect us. Her lips brushed Esme's forehead. A benediction. We honor him by living free. The clock struck 10. The house settling into quiet. They retreated to Clara's suite, a sunlit expanse of whites and blues overlooking the sound. Esme hesitated at the threshold. The weight of habit, her own room down the hall, solitary and stark, pulling her back. Stay, Clara said simply, shedding her sheath to reveal lace that hugged her curves. Esme complied, shedding her clothes like old sails, their bodies reuniting with a sigh. Skin to skin. They moved slowly, rediscovering rhythms interrupted by grief. Clara's mouth traced the faint scars across Esme's chest. Kisses like stitches mending invisible wounds. Esme's fingers wove through Clara's hair, anchoring her as pleasure built, wave upon wave, cresting in shared release. Afterward, tangled in sheets scented with lavender, Esme traced patterns on Clara's back. The press tomorrow, she murmured. They'll twist us into caricatures, gold-digging harpies fighting over scraps. Clara propped on an elbow, her hair a golden halo. Let them. We're more than that. We're the storm they can't contain. She kissed Esme then, deep and promising, sealing a pact forged in firelight. Sleep came fitful, dreams laced with Richard's laughter and Theo's accusations. Dawn broke gray, the estate buzzing with arrivals. Caterers for the informal brunch Harold insisted on. Reporters cordoned at the gates. Esme woke to Clara's note on the pillow. Meet me in the library. We've got a front to present. The library was Richard's true heart. Shelves groaning with leather-bound tomes and first editions. Hemingway, Fitzgerald. The ghosts of American excess. Clara stood by the bay window, phone in hand, her face pale. Theo's lawyer filed already. Emergency hearing in Riverhead. And this, she handed Esme the device. Open to a New York Post exclusive. Voss Widow's Wicked Web. Lesbian lovers or legal heist. Esme's stomach twisted. The article dissected their lives with surgical cruelty. Clara's perfect society wife facade. Esme's rags to riches rise painted as opportunism. Hints at her trans history unearthed from old records. How? She whispered. Someone leaked the codicil, Clara said grimly. Theo. Most likely. Or a disgruntled board member. Footsteps echoed in the hall. Harold, flustered, with news of helicopters circling overhead. Ladies, the judge wants statements by noon. Deny the relationship. Emphasize the business arrangement. It's the only way to salvage the inheritance. Clara's eyes met Esme's. A silent question. Deny? After last night? Esme's throat tightened. The truth Richard demanded clashed with the survival instinct screaming to lie. I can't, Esme said. Voice breaking. Not anymore. Claire nodded. Fierce. Then neither can I. As they stepped into the fray, arms linked, Esme felt the scandal's jaws close, but in Clara's grip, she found the strength to bite back. The driveway swarmed like a beehive tipped over, news vans jockeying for angles, reporters shouting questions over the crunch of gravel. Esme and Clara emerged from Greyhaven's portico. A united front in tailored blacks, Clara's pencil skirt and blouse evoking boardroom battles. Esme's slacks and silk shell a nod to understated power. Flashbulbs erupted. A staccato assault that blinded more than illuminated. Ms. Foss. Is it true you knew about the second wife all along? Esme. Sources say you're transgender. Does that factor into the will's bond clause? The barbs flew. Each one laced with the poison of speculation. Esme's jaw clenched. Her hazel eyes scanning the crowd for Theo's telltale surf-bleached hair. They're leaning against a Porsche. Arms crossed. His smirk a slash of triumph. He had orchestrated this circus, weaponizing their privacy for leverage. Clara raised a hand, her society polish shining through. No comment at this time. Will addressed the court. Security, hired hastily that morning, parted the sea, escorting them to the waiting town car. Inside, the leather seats sighed as they settled, the partition rising like a guillotine. Esme exhaled, rubbing her temples. That was just the appetizer. The hearing will be a feast for the wolves. Clara's hand found her knee, a steadying pressure. Then we feed them something indigestible, the truth. Our version. She pulled out her phone, already drafting a statement with her PR firm. Clara Voss and Esme Sinclair stand together in grief and resolve. Richard Voss Sinclair's will reflects his wishes for unity, not division. Personal matters remain private, the legacy endures. Esme read over her shoulder, the words a tightrope between candor and caution. It's good. But Theo, he's not bluffing. If he proves undue influence or fraud, the whole thing crumbles. The drive to Riverhead Courthouse wound through potato fields and farm stands. The Hamptons glamour yielding to Suffolk County's sturdy heartland. Esme gazed out at weathered barns and grazing horses, a world untouched by scandal's glare. It reminded her of Montana drives with her mother. Before the city swallowed her, wide skies promising escape. If only one dared reach. Clara broke the silence. Tell me about her. Your mother. Esme turned, surprised. How? The letter. Richard mentioned her in one. Said she was the root of your strength. Clara's eyes were soft, inviting the vulnerability Esme had armored against. She leaned back, the words tumbling like pebbles down a well. Lena. Single mom. Nurse at Cook County. Raised me on gospel records and greens from the community garden. When I came out as gay first, then trans, she didn't pray it away. She said, God's got room for all his children, even the stubborn ones. A lump formed, old grief surfacing. She died during my transition. Aneurysm. I like to think she'd approve of this mess, fighting for love, not letting go. Clara squeezed her hand. She would. And she'd love you fiercer for it. The courthouse loomed, a red brick relic amid parking lots. Inside, the air hummed with fluorescent buzz and murmured legalese. Theo's team, slick sharks from Manhattan, huddled with the judge in chambers, but Harold met them in the hall, face etched with worry. Your statement's filed, but the opposition's pushing for an injunction. Claims the marriage to Esme was invalid, bigamy under New York law, and the bond codicil coercive. Esme's blood ran cold. Invalid meant penniless, cast adrift in a city that chewed up strays. But more than money, it threatened the fragile bridge they had built, Greyhaven's gardens, the letter's promises. the life they glimpsed in each other's arms. The hearing convened in a wood-paneled room. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s with a no-nonsense bun, banging her gavel for order. Theo took the stand first. His testimony a litany of grievances: absentee father, manipulated mother, interloping consultant who seduced the family. Esme Sinclair preyed on father's vulnerabilities, he averred, voice quivering for effect. The will's a farce, designed to legitimize an affair. Gasps rippled through the gallery, packed with reporters transcribing furiously. Esme gripped the table's edge, nails digging into oak. Clara's foot nudged hers under the table, a Morse code of solidarity. Harold countered with documents. Richard's notarized consent forms for the plural arrangement, drafted with Clara's knowledge, predating Esme's involvement. Mr. Voss Sinclair was a visionary, Your Honor. His estate reflects consensual bonds, not coercion, but the codicil proved the fulcrum. Theo's lawyer demanded it read aloud, Richard's words hanging in the air like smoke. Reveal your past. Forgive as the sea forgives. Together, or not at all. The judge's brow furrowed. This implies conditions on personal disclosures. Unorthodox, to say the least. Sinclair. Voss, do you intend to comply? Clara spoke first, rising with grace. We do, Your Honor. The truth is, Richard encouraged our friendship, our bond to flourish. Sustained him. And now it sustains us. Theo snorted. But the judge silenced him with a glare. And you? Sinclair. Esme stood, heart thundering. The room blurred, faces melting into a sea of judgment. But Clara's gaze anchored her. Hazel meeting blue in silent vow. Richard gave me a second chance at life, Esme said. Voice clear. Not just financially, but wholly. My past, my transition, my struggles, it's part of me. And my love for Clara. It's the truth he wanted free. Murmurs erupted. Cameras clicking from the back. The judge leaned forward. Love? Elaborate. Esme did. Haltingly at first. Then with the floodgates open. The beach kisses. The tower tryst. The way Clara's laughter had healed fractures Richard's fortune couldn't touch. We're not thieves, Your Honor. We're survivors. And we choose together. Theo's face drained of color. His lawyer objecting on grounds of irrelevance. But the judge waved it off. Her expression softening imperceptibly. Court adjourned until Monday. I'll review the psych eval on Mr. Voss Sinclair's competency. In the meantime, a temporary stay on asset distribution, no sales, no transfers. Outside, the press mobbed them anew, but security carved a path. In the car, Clara pulled Esme close, their foreheads touching. You were magnificent. Esme laughed shakily. Terrified, but alive. They returned to Greyhaven under a sky clearing to azure, the estate's lights winking like conspirators. Dinner was simple: Clara's clam chowder, crusty bread from the village bakery, eaten on the veranda as gulls wheeled overhead. Theo had texted, "This changes nothing. See you in court." But his bluster rang hollow. Esme sensed the crack in his armor, the loneliness mirroring her own past. Night fell soft, stars pricking the velvet dome. In bed, their lovemaking was unhurried. Exploratory, Clara's tongue tracing Esme's collarbone, Esme's hands cupping Clara's breasts with reverence. Climax came quiet. A shared sigh into the pillow. Bodies entwined like roots seeking water. But dawn brought the backlash. Voicemails from board members demanding resignations. Emails from Clara's charity board citing reputational risk. Esme's phone buzzed with a Chicago cousin's message. Saw the news. Proud of you, girl. Mama would be too. Mid-morning. A courier delivered a package, Theo's. Unmarked but heavy. Inside, Richard's sea chest. Brass-bound and salt-scarred. Containing not treasure, but journals. Chronicling the marriages. Clara's steadiness grounds me. Esme's fire ignites. Together, they are the horizon I chase. Esme shared it with Clara over coffee, tears salting the pages. He saw us as whole. Clara nodded. Resolute. Then we live it. Starting now. That afternoon. They walked the beach. Shoes in hand. Waves lapping their ankles. The scandal raged on screens. But here, in the salt-stung air, they plotted their counter. A joint interview. Perhaps. Or a foundation in Richard's name for LGBTQ plus youth. Freedom tasted like possibility. Yet as they turned back toward Greyhaven, a figure waited on the dunes. Theo? Hands in pockets. Expression unreadable. I read the journals, he said quietly. He wrote about me too. Said I was his greatest regret. Clara's breath caught. Esme tensed. Ready for war. But Theo extended a hand. Truce? For now. The gesture hung. Fragile as sea glass. And Esme wondered if forgiveness could be as simple as a step forward. Theo's truce felt like glass underfoot, beautiful, but prone to shattering. They retreated to the sunroom. The three of them arrayed around a wicker table laden with iced tea and lemon wedges, the air thick with unspoken fractures. Theo fidgeted with his napkin, twisting it into knots. His usual bravado eroded by the journal's revelations. He thought I hated him, he said finally. Voice rough. Because I left for LA after Mom, after you two started this charade. Clara reached across, her fingers brushing his. It wasn't a charade. Theo. Your father built walls to protect us all. Including you. He pulled back, eyes flicking to Esme. And you? The fire he wrote about. Was that real? Or just another conquest? Esme met his gaze steadily, the sun slanting through the panes to gild her skin. Real as the scars I carry. I loved him. Theo in my way. But Clara. She's the horizon. The admission hung. Vulnerable. Yet liberating. Theo's jaw worked. Processing. Before he nodded curtly. Fine. Truce holds until the hearing. But if the judge sides with me, she won't, Clara interjected firmly. Because we're not fighting you. We're family. The word landed like a stone in still water. Ripples spreading. Family. Esme had lost hers to transitions and distances. Clara's fractured by divorce whispers. Theo's by addictions tied. Yet here, in Greyhaven's gilded cage, they orbited the same sun. Afternoon brought a reprieve. A walk through the estate's grounds. Theo trailing like a reluctant shadow. The gardens unfolded in Clara's vision. Meandering paths of lavender and lupin. A koi pond mirroring willows. Benches carved with Richard's initials intertwined with theirs. Esme plucked a pebble from the path, skipping it across the water. "He built this for you," she said to Clara. "But we can rebuild it for us," Theo snorted. "Us? The tabloids are calling it the Voss Vortex. My agent's dropping me. Says the scandal tanks my surf line." Clara shot him a look. "Then pivot. Use it. Father's name on a cause, youth outreach. Recovery programs. Because. Considering. Maybe. But first, I need to know, did he suffer?" At the end, Esme exchanged a glance with Clara. Peacefully, she lied gently. In his sleep, dreaming of seas. Theo accepted it with a nod, the group falling into companionable silence as they circled back. Evening found them in the kitchen, Clara directing a makeshift feast. Lobster rolls from local catch, corn on the cob charred over the grill. Laughter crept in. Tentative, Theo's tales of Malibu wipeouts drawing Esme's dry wit. Clara's impressions of stuffy club ladies eliciting guffaws. But bedtime brought reality's chill. Alone in Clara's suite, Esme scrolled news alerts. Voss heirs in huddle reconciliation or ruse. Protests brewed online. Some decrying deviant decadence, others championing the queer power couple. Esme's trans identity fueled the fire. Old trolls dredging college photos. But allies emerged too, letters from trans youth echoing her journey. Clara slid behind her, arms encircling. Ignore the noise. Focus here. Her lips found Esme's neck, nipping softly, hands roaming with intent. They tumbled to the rug, urgency building, Clara's thighs straddling, Esme's hips bucking in rhythm. Gasps mingled with the distant surf, release crashing like thunder, leaving them spent and sated. Sleep evaded Esme, her mind churning codicil clauses and contingency plans. What if the judge ruled against them? Greyhaven sold. Assets liquidated. Scattered to the winds. She rose before dawn, slipping to the library for Richard's letters. One caught her eye. Dated a year ago. If I go first, promise me. Let the world see your light, not my shadow. Esme, your past is your power. Clara, your heart is the map. Tears fell, spotting the page. She pocketed it, resolve hardening. Monday's hearing would be their stand. The weekend blurred in preparation, mock cross-examinations with Harold, media training where Esme practiced smiles that didn't reach her eyes. Theo stayed, an uneasy ally, sharing war stories over midnight scotch, his rehabs, Richard's infidelities before the plural pact. He was lonely, Theo admitted. You two fixed that. In a weird way, Sunday brought a gale. Winds howling off the sound, waves battering the seawall. Esme and Clara sought refuge in the boathouse, its wooden beams creaking like old bones. They spread blankets amid sailcloth stacks, sharing a thermos of mulled cider. Remember our first time here? Clara murmured, tracing Esme's palm. Esme smiled, memory igniting. You in that red bikini. Me pretending to fix the dinghy. Richard called from Tokyo. Perfect cover. Laughter bubbled, dissolving into kisses, slow, exploratory, hands relearning curves. Clara's fingers delved, coaxing moans that echoed off the rafters. Esme reciprocated, tongue and touch worshipping, their union a defiant symphony against the storm. After, wrapped in wool, Clara voiced the fear Esme hadn't dared. What if we lose? Not the money, the us. If this tears us apart. Esme pulled her closer. Then we rebuild. Smaller. Maybe. But ours. Monday dawned crisp. The drive to court a procession of armored hearts. The gallery swelled. Celebrities rubbernecking a real housewife. A tech heir, turning justice to spectacle. The judge reconvened. Her ruling a scalpel. The arrangement, while unconventional, was consensual and legal under private contract. The codicil, though poetic, imposes no undue burden. Estate upheld as written. Cheers and jeers clashed. Theo slumping in defeat. But as they exited, he caught Esme's arm. Don't gloat. This isn't victory. It's just round one. Clara hugged him fiercely. Come home, Theo. For real this time. He wavered. Then nodded. Weekends. Maybe. Elation carried them back to Grey Haven, where Harold popped champagne on the lawn. Reporters lingered at the gates, but security held firm. That night, a small dinner, just the three, toasting Richard's ghost. Laughter flowed freer, bonds mending like nets after storm. Yet Esme sensed undercurrents, the board's simmering revolt, Theo's fragile peace. In bed, Clara's embrace was fierce, bodies melding with desperate gratitude. We did it, she whispered post-climax. Fingers tangled in Esme's hair. Esme kissed her temple. We survived. But survival begged the question. What next? As sleep claimed them. Esme dreamed of open seas. Clara at the helm. Horizon boundless. Tuesday brought the deluge, not rain, but demands. The board summoned Clara and Esme to Manhattan, a glass tower overlooking the Hudson where Voss Shipping's empire pulsed. Suits eyed them like sharks circling chum. The chairman, a paunchy relic named Hargrove, pounding the table. This scandal's tanking stock. Resign. Or we vote no confidence. Clara's chin lifted. Richard built this with vision. We're his vision, Esme added. And we're staying. With or without your blessing. Murmurs rose. But a younger exec, diversity hire, sharp-eyed, nodded support. The vote split. Holding for now. Victory tasted bittersweet, laced with isolation. Back in the Hamptons, Esme sought solace in the East Tower. Richard's desk now theirs. She penned a blog, unfiltered, from shadows to shorelines, a love unearthed. Publishing it felt like casting off lines. Words sailing into the digital ether. Responses flooded. Hate mail venomous. But support title, trans activists sharing stories. Lesbians from small towns echoing isolation. One email pierced. Your courage saved my marriage to my wife. Thank you, Esme. Clara read it aloud that evening. Tears shining. We're changing things. Theo arrived unannounced. Duffel in hand. Weekends start now. Surf's up tomorrow. Esme grinned. Only if you teach me not to wipe out. Dawn broke golden. The trio paddling out on longboards. Waves curling like invitations. Esme caught one. The rush pure flight, salt spray stinging. Clara's whoop echoing. Theo steadying her wipeout. In that moment, family crystallized, flawed, feared, afloat. But as they toweled off, a call shattered the idle Hargrove, invoking a dormant clause, shareholder revolt. The board war loomed, threatening all. Esme gripped Clara's hand. Round 2. The boardroom war escalated like a nor'easter. Winds of dissent howling through conference calls and proxy battles. Hargrove rallied the old guard, painting Clara and Esme as distractions in leaked memos that surfaced on Bloomberg terminals. Stock dipped 5% overnight. Analysts speculating on internal turmoil. Esme pored over spreadsheets in Greyhaven's library, her laptop aglow in the lamplit gloom, while Clara fielded calls from allies, progressive investors smelling opportunity in the Voss rebrand. Theo proved unexpectedly invaluable, his LA connections yielding endorsements from eco-brands eager for the woke billionaire narrative. Leverage the queer angle, he advised over pizza in the kitchen, grease-smeared boxes littering the island. But grounded in green shipping, carbon-neutral fleets. Father's legacy. Upgraded, Esme nodded, wiping sauce from her chin. Smart. But Hargroves dug in. He's got the unions whispering about moral decay, infecting labor talks. Clara sighed, rubbing her temples. Then we go public. Full court press, interview with CNN, op-ed in the Times. The plan coalesced over the next days. A media blitz blending vulnerability and steel. First, the interview. A sun-dappled setup in Greyhaven's gardens. Anchor Lena Ramirez's warm eyes belying her probing questions. Clara. Esme, America's riveted. Bigamy. Inheritance. Forbidden love. What's the real story? Clara spoke from the heart. Her hand in Esme's visible on camera. It's a story of love in layers. Richard gave us permission to love deeply each other. Included. We're not hiding anymore. Esme followed. Voice steady. My transition taught me authenticity's cost. This scandal, it's the bill coming due. But worth every cent for this freedom. Ramirez leaned in. And the board fight? Are you staying the course? Absolutely, Esme said. Voss shipping sails forward, with us at the helm. Airwaves lit up post-broadcast. Hashtags trending. Voss sisters a misnomer. But viral, flooding feeds with rainbow filters. Stock rebounded 3 points. Young investors snapping shares. But backlash brewed too. Protests at the Manhattan HQ. Pickets chanting traditional values for traditional trade. Esme fielded the hate in waves. Each slur a echo of Chicago taunts. But Clara's presence armored her. Nights blurred into passion's refuge. Urgent trysts in the wine cellar. Slow dances devolving to floor-bound fervor. Clara's cries muffled against Esme's shoulder. You're my anchor, Clara gasped once. Legs wrapped tight as ecstasy peaked. And you're the sail, Esme replied. Heartful. Theo's integration deepened the household rhythm. Morning runs along the bluffs. Evenings dissecting board strategies over chess. Richard's antique set. Ivory kings toppled like foes. One night. Post-checkmate. He cracked open. I envied you both. Father's attention, it was always split. But real. Mine felt like obligation. Clara hugged him. It was love. Theo. Messy. But yours. The shareholder meeting loomed in Midtown. A coliseum of pinstripes and PowerPoints. Esme and Clara arrived flanked by advisors. Theo at their side in a borrowed suit that hung loose on his frame. Hargrove's presentation dripped disdain. Charts of plummeting morale. Projections of boycotts. This leadership experiment fails. Vote them out. Clara countered with vision. Sustainable routes. Diversity hires. A Voss Foundation for Maritime Equity. Esme crunched numbers live, ROI on green tech. Market share gains from inclusive branding. Scandal's noise, she said, locking eyes with the room. But progress? That's the signal. Theo sealed it. Voice raw. My father built this for family. Honor that. Don't dismantle it. The vote teetered. Proxies tallied in tense silence. When the gavel fell, motion denied, elation erupted. Hargrove stormed out. But whispers followed. Retirement rumors. Perhaps. Back in the Hamptons. Celebration unfurled. Bonfire on the beach. Marshmallows toasting golden. Guitars strumming folk tunes. Theo serenaded with off-key Dylan. Clara dancing barefoot with Esme. Their shadows long and entwined. We won, Esme murmured, nuzzling Clara's ear. For now, Clara replied, but her smile shone undimmed. Idol shattered midweek. A detective's card slipped under the door. NYPD badge glinting. MS. Sinclair. A word about Richard's death. Esme's stomach plummeted. What about it? Routine follow-up, the man said. Notebook poised. Anonymous tip possible foul play. Overdose. Not heart attack. Clara paled beside her. Impossible. The autopsy. Being reviewed, he cut in. Mr. Voss had enemies. And lovers with motives. Theo overheard from the hall. Face ashen. This is Hargrove. Sabotage. The investigation wormed in. Interviews with staff. Talk screens on exhumed samples. Esme endured questioning in a sterile precinct room. Coffee bitter as suspicion. You benefited most, the detective pressed. Inheritance. Plus the lover. I loved him, Esme countered. But not to death. Clara faced her own grill. Did you know about Esme's affair? From the start, Clara admitted. Richard did too. It was his gift. Leaks twisted truths, headlines screaming poison polygamy. Public opinion swung. Shares tumbling anew. Theo rallied defenses. Hiring forensics experts. But doubt seeded. Late-night what-ifs. Esme staring at ceilings. Clara's sleep fractured by nightmares. One storm-lashed evening. Accusations surfaced. Theo. Scotch-Lucen. Cornered Esme in the study. The vile estrogen? What else was in your bathroom cabinet? Esme recoiled. You searched my room? Desperate times. His eyes pleaded. Just. Tell me you didn't. I didn't, she whispered. Fury and hurt colliding. But if you doubt me, we're done. Clara intervened, sending Theo to guest quarters. Alone, she held Esme through sobs. He's scared. Like us. Their lovemaking that night was tender. Reaffirming, fingers interlacing. Gazes locked. Climaxes whispered promises. Innocent, Clara breathed. Always. The tox report cleared them Friday. Natural causes confirmed. Tip debunked as crank call. Hargrove resigned amid ethics probe. Board stabilizing. Relief washed like tide. But scars lingered, trust's fragile weave. Esme initiated healing. A family retreat to the Capri Villa. Richard's Mediterranean bequest. Private jet to azure seas. Villa's terraces blooming with bougainvillea. Days blurred in swims and siestas. Theo teaching Clara stand-up paddle. Esme sketching horizons. One sunset. Atop cliffside ruins. Esme proposed not rings, but resolve. Marry me. Legally. This time, just us. Clara's yes was tear-streaked. Theo whooping approval. Fireworks over the Tyrrhenian. Their kiss sealing fate. Return brought grounded joy. Foundation launch. Speeches on resilience. Esme's book deal followed Memoir of Secrets to Shores. Clara bloomed in philanthropy. Theo helming youth programs. Yet in quiet moments, Esme traced her scars, grateful for the woman who saw beyond. Love, she learned, was the truest inheritance. Capri's spell lingered like limoncello on the tongue, tart, intoxicating. A brief exile from the Hamptons' relentless scrutiny. Back at Greyhaven, the estate felt reborn, contractors repainting the tower in seafoam hues, gardeners expanding Clara's wildflower meadows. Esme threw herself into the memoir. Pages filling with raw vignettes, Chicago's first Pride March, Richard's hesitant acceptance, Clara's touch as revelation. Writing unearthed depths. Therapy in ink. Each chapter a layer peeled toward wholeness. Clara thrived in the Foundation's helm. Voss Legacy Fund channeling millions to trans healthcare and maritime scholarships. Galas dotted their calendar. Black tie affairs in Manhattan lofts, where Esme navigated heels and small talk. Clara's arm a steady tether. "You're glowing," a donor whispered once. And Esme realized it was true. Authenticity's light. Unshadowed. Theo's transformation anchored the trio. Clean a year. His surf line rebranded Tide Turners, proceeds to recovery centers. Weekends became ritual. Dawn patrols on dawn swells. Post-surf brunches of avocado toast and Bloody Marys. "Family's weird," he quipped one morning. Salt-crusted hair tousled. But this works. Yet undercurrents stirred. Esme's book tour loomed. A cross-country gauntlet. Readings in San Francisco bookstores. Panels in Austin's queer scenes. Signings in Chicago's old haunts. "You'll kill it," Clara encouraged. But anxiety gnawed. Esme's first unfiltered exposure. Past and present colliding. Departure day dawned misty. Greyhaven's drive lined with well-wishers. Staff waving. Theo loading her suitcase with a bear hug. Clara drove her to the airport. Hand on thigh the entire haul. At security, their goodbyes stretched, kisses lingering. Promises texted before wheels left tarmac. San Francisco welcomed with fog-shrouded bridges. Esme's hotel overlooking Alcatraz's silhouette. The reading at city lights buzzed. Packed house. Faces a mosaic of curiosity and kinship. She read from the Beach Kiss chapter. Voice cracking on her lips tasted like forgiveness. Applause thundering like waves. Post-event. A fan approached mid-20s. Androgynous crop. Eyes wide. "Your story." "It's mine." Closeted in the Bible Belt. Transitioning alone. "Thank you." Esme hugged her. The exchange electric. Giving what she once craved. Austin's heat enveloped next. Panels at South by Southwest offshoots debating queer narratives in capitalist shadows. Esme sparred with academics. Her lived edge cutting through theory. Nights blurred in dive bars. Flirting harmless with baristas. But Clara's FaceTime anchored. "Miss your chaos," Clara teased. Robe slipping to reveal lace. Chicago hit hardest. O'Hare's bustle evoking ghosts. She visited Lena's grave in Oakwoods. Wildflowers in hand. Whispering updates. "Mama, I found my harbor." The reading at seminary co-op overflowed. Cousins in attendance. Their pride a bomb. One aunt pulled her aside. "Your mother's smile in you. Keep shining." Tours crescendo. New York launch at Strand. Shelves groaning under shores of self. Celebrities turned out. A Pose actress. A Succession writer. Clara beaming from the front row. Q&A delved deep. Regrets? A journalist probed. Esme pause. Microphone heavy. Only hiding too long. Love's worth the storm. After party swirled in a Soho loft. Champagne flutes clinking amid air kisses. Esme and Clara slipped away to the rooftop. City lights sprawling like spilled stars. Proud, Clara murmured, backing Esme against parapet. Their kiss ignited. Hands roaming under dresses. Urgency quelled by distant sirens. Home, Esme gasped. Now, Greyhaven greeted with autumn's palette. Leaves turning crimson. Air crisp with apple cider. Theo hosted a welcome-back barbecue. Grills smoking with ribeyes. Neighbors mingling warily. Scandal's embers still warm. Esme caught whispers. Bold? Isn't she? But Clara's glare silenced them. Winter crept in soft. First snow-dusting dunes. Holidays strung with lights. They hosted Richard's memorial intimate. Yacht club overlooking the sound. Toasts flowed. Theo's to the old man who rigged the game right. Clara's to anchors in every storm. Esme's closed. To truths that set us free. Yule brought quiet joys. Tree trimming with spiked eggnog. Clara and reindeer antlers. Esme stringing popcorn garlands. Gifts exchanged by firelight. Clara's locket etched with waves for Esme. Theo's custom board. Esme's journal for Clara. Our story. Unwritten chapters. New Year's Eve. They danced in the ballroom. Theo's playlist mixing Springsteen with Billie Holiday. Midnight kiss under mistletoe. Clara's whisper. Our year. Fireworks burst over the water. Reflections dancing on waves. Spring thawed resolutions. Wedding plans coalesced. Small Vermont Inn. Peaks greening. Invites went to allies, tour fans, foundation donors, Chicago kin. Esme's dress. Ivory silk. Off-shoulder. Echoing her transition gown. Clara's. Blush chiffon. Flowing like tide. Ceremony day dawned clear. Adirondack chapel fragrant with pine. Vows exchanged barefoot on mossy aisle. Clara's. I choose your depths every dawn. Esme's. Your light guides my every wave. Rings white gold. Wave-etched, slipped on trembling fingers. Theo's best man toast. To love that defies charts. Honeymoon in Oregon's coast. Cabins amid redwoods. Hikes to hidden coves. Days in tide pools. Nights in flannel sheets. Bodies rediscovering in rain-lashed bliss. Clara's fingers mapped Esme's scars anew. Mouth following. Beautiful. Esme's turn. Worshipping curves. Climaxes echoing forest calls. Return heralded growth. Esme's book bestseller. Sequel greenlit. Clara's fund expanded. Grants to trans sailors. Theo proposed to his girlfriend, a marine biologist, over dinner. Rings glinting like buoys. But joy's shadow loomed. Esme's checkup revealed a lump benign. But biopsy's needle a reminder of fragility. Clara held her through tears. We're fighters. Summer solstice brought closure. Greyhaven's garden party. Honoring Richard. Guests mingled. Theo's fiancé. Bored allies. Laughter mingling with surf. Esme and Clara slow danced at dusk. Her head on Clara's shoulder. This life, Esme sighed. Ours. Clara tilted her chin. And endless. Yet in the quiet after. Esme pondered legacies, not fortunes. but fingerprints on hearts. Richard's will had cracked them open. Love sealed the vessel. Fall painted vines gold. Harvest moons rising fat. Esme's second book tour beckoned. But this time, Clara joined select stops, partners in narrative. One night in New Orleans jazz clubs, saxophone wailing, they slipped into a courtyard. Beads from Mardi Gras strands draping their necks. Love-making against stucco walls, urgent and alive. City's pulse sinking theirs. Homeward. A letter arrived, Theo's sonogram. Aunt Esme. Uncle Clara, baby Voss incoming. Tears of joy. Plans for nurseries. Esme touched her belly idly, wondering at futures unwritten. Winter's grip softened to spring. Greyhaven budding anew. Esme's reflection in tower mirror showed lines earned. Laugh creases. Resolve in jaw. Clara joined. Arms circling. Beautiful. Their kiss deepened. Hands wandering. Tumbling to the chaise, familiar. Fervent. Release came shared. Breaths mingling. Forever. In that embrace. Esme knew scandals forged. Truths tempered. Love the enduring tide. The baby's arrival marked a new season. Theo's daughter Lila Voss, born under a harvest moon. Her cries a siren's call echoing Greyhaven's halls during visits. Esme held her first. Tiny fists waving like flags of surrender. Clara cooing lullabies in soft French. She has your eyes, Esme teased Theo, who beamed, red-rimmed from vigils. Paternity leave stretched his world. Diaper changes interspersed with bored calls. Surf sessions traded for park strolls. Never thought I'd trade waves for this, he confessed one weekend. Lila gurgling on a blanket amid dunes. But damn. It's the best ride. Clara's foundation flourished. Lila's fund arm sponsoring trans youth mentorships, scholarships named for Lena Sinclair. Esme mentored remotely. Zoom calls with Chicago teens. Your story's your superpower, she'd say. Echoing her own path. Book 2 released to acclaim, Tides of Us. Delving coupledom's depths, Clara as muse. Their Vermont vows as anchor. Tours wove domesticity. Boston readings followed by Clara's gallery openings. Nights in boutique hotels where robes discarded led to silk sheet symphonies. Esme's mouth charting Clara's size. Yet cracks spidered. Clara's fatigue from juggling fund events clashing with Esme's deadlines. I'm spread thin, she admitted one evening. Wine glass trembling. Like the estate, beautiful. But upkeep's endless. Esme pulled her close on the veranda. Stars pricking velvet sky. Then prune. Delegate. We're partners. Not jugglers. Therapy followed. Couples sessions in a Southampton loft. Sage-scented and safe. Communication's the keel, the counselor urged. And they heeded. Weekly check-ins over tea. Voicing fears uncloaked. Vulnerability bonded deeper. Intimacy reigniting, slow mornings in bed. Fingers lazy exploring. Climaxes like lazy swells. Theo's engagement bloomed too. Seaside proposal to Mia. His biologist love. Ring a pearl from Voss oysters. Wedding at Greyhaven, Clara orchestrating. Esme officiating. Lila flower girl in tulle. Vows rang. Through currents and calms, Mia pledged. Theo's always surfacing together. Honeymoon gifts poured. Esme's custom surfboard. Clara's rare sea glass collection. Post-ceremony. The estate quieted. Newlyweds off to Belize. Leaving Esme and Clara to reclaim rhythms. Anniversary approached, Vermont revisit. In suite booked. Road trip north. Windows down. Springsteen's Thunder Road blasting. Peaks welcomed Emerald. Chapel now there's alone. Renewed vows by hearth. Deeper still. Esme promised. Claire's uncharted. Unafraid. Nights in hot springs. Steam rising like desire. Bodies buoyant in mineral kiss. Clara's legs wrapped Esme's waist. Water lapping as thrusts built. Release rippling outward. Return stirred ambition. Esme's TED Talk invite. From hidden harbors to open seas. Filmed in Hamptons amphitheater. Waves crashing underscore. Standing ovation. Viral clip. Love isn't inheritance. It's the will to inherit each other. Clara's honor followed. Human Rights Campaign Gala. Award for Advocacy. Esme's speech. She's the tide that lifts all boats. After party dance. Gowns swirling. Their slow sway drawing sighs. Summer solstice party. Bonfire redux. Guests from tours and funds. Lila toddled. Chasing fireflies. Theo and Mia beaming. Esme and Clara slipped away to boathouse. Nostalgia thick. Here, Clara breathed. Hiking Esme's skirt. Fingers delving with memory's precision. Esme reciprocated on blankets. Tongue worshipping. Clara's arch a bowstring snapped in ecstasy. Fall brought harvest. Foundation's impact report. Lives changed. A trans captain captaining Voss routes. Youth centers thriving. Esme's third book brewed fiction. Hamptons set romance. Echoes of theirs. Thanksgiving gathered kin. Chicago cousins. Mia's Oregon family. Table groaning with turkey and tamales. Toast to Lena. To Richard. Ghosts at the feast. Grateful. Winter holidays twinkled. Tree lit with Lila's baubles. Gifts thoughtful. Clara's locket refill. Photo of them on Capri Cliffs. New Year's. Ballroom again. Countdown to midnight kiss. Confetti and champagne. But joy tempered with shadow. Esme's biopsy echo. Annual scans vigilant. Clear results. But Clara's hand lingered post-exam. We're vigilant together. Spring unfurled plans. Adoption whispers. Fostering trans youth. Consultations with agencies. Home studies at Greyhaven Nursery prepped. Walls Seamuraled. Theo's second child announced. Boy due summer. Keeping the Voss chaos going, he joked. Esme's novel dropped. Dune kisses. Bestseller swift. Film rights buzzing. Hollywood calls. Lesbian leads? Groundbreaking. Clara's pride swelled. My author. Summer heat wave. Beach days with Lila. Sandcastles toppling like egos. Esme taught her skips. Clara buried toes in cool surf. One twilight. Storm brewing. Esme proposed expansion. Our family foster first? Clara's yes. Tear bright. Build the boat. Fill the sails. Applications submitted. Waits agonizing. But hope buoyed. Fall's equinox. First placement a teen named Riley. 16. Trans girl fleeing foster flux. Wide-eyed arrival. Duffel clutched. Esme showed her the tower. Your room. Your rules. Clara cooked welcome. Pasta carbonara. Stories shared. Riley's thaw slow, jokes tentative. Laughs earned. Night. Esme and Clara debriefed. She's us. Young, Esme said. Bodies curling post-whispered worries. Hands soothing. Turning tender. Clara's thigh between Esme's. Friction building to shared sigh. Riley integrated school in Southampton. Art classes. Surf lessons with Theo. Lila's playmate. Chaos joyful. Thanksgiving expanded. Riley's wary kin invited. Bridges tentative. Winter's gift. Permanent guardianship approved. Riley's tears. Home. Clara's hug. Always. New Year dawned full. Family photos by frost-laced windows. Futures framed. Esme's reflection held multitudes. Daughter. White. Writer. Warrior. Clara's gaze affirmed whole. Love's legacy, not gold, but gold-hearted lives woven tight. Years folded like sails in fair winds. Greyhaven evolving from scandal's stage to sanctuary's heart. Riley blossomed, high school grad in cap and gown. Art school bound for RISD. Portfolio brimming with wave abstracts. You gave me canvas, she said at send-off brunch, hugging Esme fierce. College drop-offs became ritual, Providence drives, dorm setups, Clara's care packages of sea salt caramels. Theo's family grew Sun Kai, tow-headed adventurer, Lila's shadow and mischief. Weekends overflowed, barbecues with kiddie pools, bonfires with Esmores. Tales of Richard spun for wide eyes. Grandpa sailed the world. But home was his true north. Esme's canon expanded. Novels serialized in The New Yorker. Screenplays optioned, Dune Kisses greenlit. Authentic casting insisted. Set visits to Vancouver. Directing cameos. Clara visiting with wine and wit. My director, Esme joked. Stealing kisses between takes. Clara's empire quieted. Foundation endowed. Board trusted. Time reclaimed for gardens and galas. Volunteer stints at youth centers. Mentoring like Esme. Roots deep. Branches wide. Their marriage weathered microstorms. Esme's tour absences sparking jealousy flares. Clara's bored residuals breeding overwork. But therapy's tools sharpened. Date nights enforced, picnics on bluffs. Sunset sails where anchors dropped for anchorless nights. Bodies rocking with boats cradle. Clara's gasps harmonizing with creaks. Anniversaries marked milestones. 5th in Louisiana bayous. Jazz funerals for past selves. 10th in Montana's big skies. Esme's roots revisited. Clara meeting spectral Lena in ghost stories. Riley's return visits layered. Girlfriend intros. Pride parades hand in hand. You modeled this, she confided once. Rainbow flag draped. Esme's chest swelled. Legacy lived. Theo's midlife pivot. Surf Academy for at-risk kids. Voss-backed. Mia's research yielded ocean conservation grants. Family voyages to coral reefs, snorkels donned. Wonders shared. Grandkids arrived soft. Lila's twins. Boy-girl whirlwinds. Greyhaven's halls echoing anew. Esme and Clara as nanas, Clara baking. Esme story timing, delighting in dimples and demands. Esme's 60th loomed. Memoir trilogy capped. Horizons held. Reflections on arcs bent toward justice. Launch in Chicago. Full circle Bronzeville block party. Cousins toasting Lena's shade. Clara's surprise. Vow renewal. Private beach at dawn. Waves witnesses. Rings refreshed. Promises polished. Through every tide, Esme vowed. Clara's to every shore. Night celebration tower suite. Candles flickering. Bodies familiar yet fervent. Clara's hands reverent on Esme's softened curves. Esme's mouth mapping silver-streaked temples. Lovemaking lingered. Unhurried. Climaxes like slow burns. Afterglow entangled limbs. Ages crept gentle. Joints creaking on morning walks. prescriptions for blood pressure. But hands clasped unchanged. Riley's wedding artist's vows. Loft in Brooklyn mother-daughter dance. Esme's tears salt-sprayed. Theo's 60th. Luau redux. Tiki torches on lawns. Toasts to survival. From wipeouts to wonders, he grinned. Kai Dijing. Winters warmed with travels. Austin's live oaks for book fests. San Francisco's fog for pride. One Oregon cabin stay. Redwoods whispering. Clara voiced the quiet fear. Aging's horizon. Am I enough? Esme cupped her face. Wrinkles mapping shared laughs. Eternally. Their intimacy adapted. Softer touches. Toys introduced playful. Peaks pursued patient. Claire's fingers. Esme's tongue still sparks to tinder. Spring of Esme's 65th. Health scare redux, routine scan spotting shadow. Surgery swift. Margins clean. Clara's vigil. Hand holding through sterile halls. Post-op soup simmered tender. Recovery's gift. Perspective sharpened. Esme journaled fierce. Time's not thief, but teacher. Book forebirthed. Silver seas. Elders erotica. Love undimmed. Clara's 70th. Garden gala. Wildflowers crowning. Speeches lauding her green thumb grace. Esme's toast. You planted us all. Grandkids' graduations dotted calendars. Lila's marine bio degree. Kai's engineering. Greyhaven's legacy fund. Scholarships in their names. Riley's first gallery show. Hamptons co-op. Waves rendered in oils. Sold out. Tears at critiques. From Foster to featured. Falls equinox. Family retreat. Montana ranch cabins. Campfires. Constellations. Stories circled. Richard's yarns retold. Scandal's footnotes in fuller tales. Esme and Clara slipped away to creekside hammock. Swaying gentle. Full circle, Esme murmured. Head on Clara's lap. Clara's fingers carded silver waves. And still spinning. Winter solstice brought quiet. Snow-globed estate. Hearth roaring. Family gathered sparse, intimates only, feast of fondue and fables. Post-dinner. Kids' abed. Adults unwound. Theo's scotch toast. Mia's star charts. Midnight. Esme and Clara to tower. Letters reread. Richard's words faded but fond. He'd approve, Clara said. Esme nodded. Proud. Their night. Undressing slow. Mirrors reflecting timelines, bodies etched with lives lived. Touches trace tattoos of time. Stretch marks from hugs. Laugh lines from joys. Clara's mouth on Esme's breast. Gentle suckle. Esme's hand between thighs. Circling patient. Builds gradual. Peaks profound, shared shudders. Sighs like sea breath. Dawn crept rosy. Waves murmuring approval. Years later. Esme's pen stilled. Final book. Ep's embrace. Valediction to voyages. Release party intimate. Greyhaven lawn. Sunset toasts. Clara's health faltered first, heart murmur. Pacemaker paced. Esme's vigil mirrored. Hospital halls. Home cares. Not yet, Clara rasped post-surgery. Esme's kiss ceiling. Theo's calls daily. Riley's flights frequent. Grandkids' cards crayon scrawled. Clara rallied. Summer strong. One last sail. Wind and white hair. Enough, she whispered. Esme's hand in hers. Fall claimed her gentle. Sleep in sunlit bed. Esme reading Wolf aloud. Last breath sighed content. Esme's tears watering the goodbye. Grief's tide pulled. Greyhaven hollow. Echoes loud. Esme wandered gardens. Clara's roses defiant. Therapy solo now. Journal filling with voids voiced. Family anchored. Theo's arm at funeral clifftop. Ashes to waves. Riley's eulogy. She taught forgiveness. Fierce and free. Winter's weight lifted slow. Spring's first bloom. Clara's favorite peony. Unfurling pink. Esme's days filled. Mentorships. Memoirs for grandkids. Book signings with anecdotes. Love lingers. Like salt on skin. One dawn. Tower desk. Letter penned. Sealed for after. Clara. My tide wait at the horizon. I'll find you. Sun rose golden. Waves calling. Esme stepped out. Bare feet on dew-kissed grass. Heart light. The sea welcomed. Endless. And in its embrace, she knew truths endured. Love the current carrying all.